you got in there because it hit me that you were a master mechanic, still are, but you worked on emergency vehicles like fire trucks. You know, you would walk up, tools in hand. What would the drivers, what would the fire department, what would everybody just say? What? This dude's a lowrider. What is he doing here? What do they know? They screw up cars. They make them go up and down. They run shitty. They smoke and all this. He's going to work on my fire truck. And then here you are. And you've done that mostly all your whole life.
And I was like, what do you mean fire department? Yeah, I'm working on fire engines. And I'm like, well, he goes, do you know anything about that? I go, you know, I've been a mechanic all my life.
What's happening, everybody? Joe Ray, you are on Wired Down, the Wired Down podcast show. Today features a guest known as Mr. Rabbit, Marcos Arellano. He is the national president, and there's a lot of chapters out there of the Impalas Car Club. You came in fully patched, Dickies Garage shirt. I see all the patches everywhere. You got your 62 SS rag, the crystal ship.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just nothing. That's a shirt wearing award patched up right there. It's pretty badass.
You know, it just gives me an honor. Well, first of all, thank you very much.
Mhm.
And I feel very honored being here. And when I wear this shirt, I feel very honored too. I don't wear it all the time, just for special events, you know, when major car shows, or when we do our big events up north and stuff, or when we do quinceañeras, cruising our cars, weddings and stuff, we put our nice Dickies on and stuff. But yeah, you know, I have all my patches on and
That annual all chapters
yes,
barbecue.
barbecue. We just had it
Barbecue
in,
and interesting beverage party.
yes,
Right?
we just had one in Merced a few weeks ago.
Right.
So Merced chapter threw their barbecue. It was a great event. There was probably about 300 Chevy Impalas there.
Probably 300 tequila shots
Eesh,
too.
You know, it's funny. So everybody sets up their canopy. Everybody has their banners up. You know, we'll say Denver, San Diego. You know, everybody. And so you start walking around. Hey, what's up, Rabbit? Take a shot. Okay. Hey, Rabbit, take a shot. And it's like by the time you're done, you kind of got to crawl back to your own camp and just relax and drink some water because everybody wants to give you a beer or a shot. But, you know, you feel very, it's real cool. There was probably about a good 600 to 700 members out there.
And the food and everything. Everybody's sharing with
everybody.
everybody. I've been through
Yes.
that experience quite a
Oh,
few
yes,
times
you
with
know.
you guys.
Yeah, it's real cool,
It's a beautiful
Real
scene,
cool.
man.
you know.
How long have you been with the Impalas now?
I've been
Your
with the
chapter
Wallace Car
started-
Club. We started our chapter in 2008, so 17 years.
17 years.
You know, we've had a great run, and we're going strong. We have 32 members in San Diego. There's 46 chapters of Impalas Car Club. We have all of the United States, and we have one in Sweden, one in Australia, and one in Chile, all the way down Central America. We're hoping to open one in Hawaii pretty soon. We're just waiting for my friend Garcia in Hungary to buy his Impala and get one going over there in Hungary, and hopefully Japan. You know, we'll be going to Japan in October for a car show out there, so we're excited about that.
There's only one common principle about the car club is that everybody must own
Yes,
an Impala.
yes. And you know, it's
Nothing
funny.
else.
It's funny. Sometimes we get a guy and says, "Hey, you know, I have a Caprice. It's almost an Impala," and we tell him, "Nope, we got to see the birth certificate of the car, that pink slip. Make sure there's Impalas on there." And
So
stuff.
no caprices.
No Caprice. I mean, you can take all the emblems off and make
Right.
it, you know, and
Yeah.
all that. But we want the car to be a Chevy Impala. So you know,
Nice.
that's the main thing.
Let's talk about the culture. Let's talk about, you've been from San Diego all your life?
All my life, I was born in Tijuana,
Okay.
1964, and you know, my dad was a truck driver for a Jack in the Box food maker company, so he was a trucker all over the place, and but he was a backyard mechanic. So, but you know, he bought a house here in San Diego, and you know, he rented his house out in Tijuana for a while. Then he sold it, but we would go back and forth, you know. But that's when the border was 10-minute wait, if that,
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So, and that's where everything happened, stuff.
Grew up, went to school there. Your influences. What started you off with low riding?
So, yeah, I went to elementary, junior high, high school. I think I did 6 months of college. School wasn't really for me. I was more you know, into the hood in a sense, not deep into the gang or to the body or nothing like that. But it was part of that era, because you're living in the hood
Right.
and stuff. But I love working on cars. My dad would always tell me, wake me up in the morning, come on, let's go work on a car. So he taught me the dynamics of a wrench, a screwdriver, and changing oil, changing tires, changing brakes, and all that. But the what you just asked me, what started my passion in lowriding, and I call it a passion, because a lot of people say, the hobby or the sport, but I see it more myself as a passion. I have a total 100% passion for lowriding. My mom has a lot of family in San Jose area, and there's a little town called Alviso in the San Jose area, and we would go visit every summer. A lot of sisters, my mom's sisters, would live there. And one summer of 1974, we drove up. It was probably around 10, 11 in the morning. We got there, 12 o'clock, I guess. And two of my cousins welcomed us, like, hey, how you gonna do tios, tias, and all that. And I looked out the window and I saw these bikes. They were custom bikes. They weren't just
Mm-hmm.
your regular bikes.
Right.
And I was like, what is that? I jumped off the car and I'm looking at them like, what is that? And they go, it's a lowrider bike. Lowrider bike? I want one. They're like, well, we don't have any. We don't. They're hard to come by. But because we're kids and stuff like that. And of course, my cousin Pepe, told me, hey, if you want one, we got to go on the hunt to go get one. I'm thinking, on the hunt. What are you talking about? 10 years old.
Right.
So we went that night, a couple of blocks down the street, and I was riding in the back of his bike, and he stops and he goes, "Look, there's some bikes over there, and are leaning against that house. You want a lowrider bike? Go get one." So I get off and I'm standing there, and I'm looking. I'm like, and he says, "Well, do or die, buddy. You gonna be a chicken, or you gonna get your bike?" And I'm looking, and of course, yeah, as a kid, you're like, I
Yeah.
got that, and I turn around and he's gone. Dije, chingado. So I go over there, jump on the first bike I grab, and I'm flying down the street. I think it had a flat tire, but I was still moving as fast as I can, heart beating. So I finally get to his house, and we're laughing and all that. He goes, "Congratulations, you did it." He goes, "I didn't think you were gonna do it." And I go, "Well, I want to do this." We took it apart, kind of took it apart that night. The next morning, got up, sanded it down. We found some old paint. My cousin Johnny gave us some paint. He was the other cousin that was on the bike, painted it up and fixed it up. And he gave me a couple of things. And that's what started it all back in 1974.
And the cars that came into the picture
The
back
cars
then
that
for
came
you?
back into the picture. So the cool stuff of it, 10 years old, started working on the bike. I wanted to do more to that bike because at that time, a year, two probably came came and went, and I started seeing more lowrider bikes. We took the bike to Tijuana, got a gas tank on it, some skirts, got it painted. I think the guy charged us $20, added more chrome. But every time we'd go to Tijuana, I would see lowriders out there. And I would tell my dad, look at those cars. They don't have suspension or what? No, my dad would tell me, no, those are the cars, los bajitos, los carros bajitos, the low cars. And I was like, wow, that's something unique. So as I got older, by the time I got 15, I was 15 years old. One day my dad called me. He goes, he called and the phone rang and my mom answered and he goes, yeah, he's right here. So I'm listening to my mom talking and I go, yeah, he's right here. Why do you want to talk to him? He goes, yes, I'll get him right now. I'm like, oh man, what do I do now? So I got on the phone and of course I started smiling and yes, yes, yes. So we hung up. But what it was, my dad told me, hey, there's a guy here at work that's gonna get married and he wants to sell his car, and it's one of those cars that you like a lot. I don't know what that guy, the lowriders. Do you want it? He wants $400 for it. I'm like, yeah, yeah. 50 years old. You're like, heck yeah, I want it. So it was a '69 Ford LTD, and I see that chain steering wheel that's right there. That it reminded me of it because when we bought it, it had Kragers. I think it had Kragers or
When
Supremes.
was this back in?
This was in 79, 80. So I was in high school. So my dad purchased a car for me, and the guy lived on 18th Street and Highland. So, Highland is our cruising in San Diego, our cruising boulevard. So when we left there, I turned to the left and jumped on Highland, and I started cruising in my car. I had this chain steering wheel, and it had a stereo and all that. So I kind of put on the music and stuff, and I was just in another world, and it just took me to another dimension in a sense.
It does until a hot summer day and you got to grab that steering wheel
Oh,
and it
yeah.
burns the hell out of your hand.
Or you
Or
still,
you have to pull a U-turn.
Yeah.
It's like, what
yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
Everything
But
was small back then.
yes,
The wheels, the tires,
yeah.
everything, right?
and it did have power steering. So I remember I got home
Oh man.
right away. I drove it up into the grass and got a bucket and soap and washed it up. And my dad, as you know, back in those days, white walls, white walls, white walls. My dad would drill me. I want those white walls clean every time we wash the cars. So that was my thing. I need those white walls clean and stuff. So
I think rims, certain rims and the white walls of 520s or whatever back then. I think back then all you had to have is just wheels
right.
and a chain steering wheel and you were a lowrider.
Yeah.
It didn't matter if you had hydraulics or anything. You were
Yeah.
considered a lowrider right away. And
Right away. Yes.
that was part of the being
and
heart
and
and soul.
the
of
car
lowriding.
did have hydraulics, and the guy told my dad, if your son wants it with hydraulics, I'll sell it to you for 800, but if he doesn't, give me 400 for it. So the guy took the hydraulics off. So he kind of put some coils in it to make it stock a little bit, but I wanted that it still had that little bounce and stuff.
Right, right.
So I was a proud owner of a Ford '69 LTD.
So as you go on in life, getting your education, high school and all that, a job, and then the car, your make and model become newer and you get something better as you go on.
Yeah, I had that car all through high school, and maybe a year after high school, then I got married, and we needed money, of course, for a wedding and stuff. So I ended up selling that '69. It's funny because sometimes I think, who did I sell it to, or what happened to that car, or where? But I do remember I put hydraulics on it that somebody let me use over the weekend one time, and I kept it for another week and another month and stuff like that. But after that, I got married, and then I bought a truck. My dad gave me a truck, but it's in my blood. It's in our DNA that we can't have a stock car. We want to put rims on it. We want to lower them down. So I kind of fixed up that truck, and then after that, I got into a big accident. I got hit in the freeway, totaled that truck, and I had gotten a job at Jack Harrison Buick. It was a dealership, and I needed another car, so I ended up buying an '83 Buick Regal. And as soon as I got that, I took it home and I showed my dad, hey, Dad, I drove to his house. I go, look at that car I got. He goes, wow, what a beautiful car. He goes, are you going to mess that one up too? I go, of course I am, Dad,
Yeah.
And by the time I got home, I had made some phone calls and stuff. And I said, hey, I need rims, I need this, I need that. And I think 2 weekends passed, and I put rims on it, and I lifted it and stuff. And then after that, had that one for a while. I sold that one. I got a Buick LeSabre, a little bit bigger. The LeSabres are big, like a Cadillac.
Oh yeah, they are.
You know.
That LTD you're talking about right now, for everybody out there, the '69 Ford LTD, they were out there. And that was a great looking car. It had a
Yes.
lot of style to it. Can't picture it. You'd have to go way back into Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
Dirty Harry, Clint Eastwood used to drive those LTDs all the time, ram one through that bank that one time. But those cars, man, they were badass out there.
Yes, they were.
Our club had a few of them. until the 74s came out and
Okay.
started
Yeah.
hitting the streets. But you don't see those cars anymore. You ever
No,
miss that car going
I
back now?
I do,
You don't. No one low
but
rides them though.
yeah, I do miss the car itself. I wish I would have, either kept it, or I don't have very much pictures because back in the days, I guess we weren't taking much pictures.
No.
I have like 2 or 3 pictures of it. I'm sure my sister has some pictures because she used to take a lot of pictures. So I've asked her, sister, you have any pictures of the cars and this, that? She goes, I got to look for them. But one thing unique about that 69 LTD, it had hideaway lights.
Yeah.
So when I would turn them on, that the eyebrows would go up and
Yep.
stuff. It was really cool.
Retractables.
Yes.
So those early days lowriders, what were the car clubs? What was that scene like out there in San Diego?
Well,
Because it is another world by
It is.
itself.
It
like
is.
NorCal is,
yes.
like SoCal.
yeah.
Then you have San Diego.
So San Diego, it was, growing up in that time, it was lowriding was hitting hard. Lowrider magazine came out, Orly's magazine, Kivo magazine, Firme magazine. So we wanted to be out in the streets. One thing I will confirm 100% that since the day 1974 to this moment right now, I have not stopped lowriding. Even being married, having kids, having everything, it's been my passion. But I wanted to be out there at every show. I wanted to be out there at every event. I wanted to be out there cruising. I just wanted to be out in the streets. And of course, then came the no cruising, down Highland, and so then that's when car shows kind of got a little bit stronger
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But cruising in San Diego was pretty cool. We had Highland. We'd always go to Highland, and then when they would close that, we'd go up to Golden Hills, which is probably like 2 or 3 miles up the hill, down to Chicano Park. That a very popular place. But Chicano Park was a rough area. Was a rough neighborhood.
Before we get to what were the car clubs? What were the well known? No.
The well-known car clubs
Clubs.
were Ragtops, Amigos Car Club, Individuals, Domestic Rides, New Wave. I know I'm forgetting some. Crowd,
Mm-hmm.
Majestics, Viejitos, Oldies. And I apologize if I forget 1 or 2 car clubs and stuff, or 3 car clubs, but those were the strong car clubs out in San Diego. But one unique thing, because we were so close to Tijuana, we would go cruising the playas of Tijuana, or even right there at the Revolucion, because the lowrider scene in Tijuana is very, very, very strong. I don't know if you've ever been out there to cruise or for an
I've been
event.
out there. I used to go like twice a month, not anymore.
Right.
But I get invited to go out there a lot. I've been in El Paso by the border where they'll show me a picture over the wall from the car show.
Right.
There's my car right here. Why don't you come with us? Come and look what the
Right.
culture's like. All the shops, everybody wants to meet you, and it's like, I don't know if it's a setup where I'm going to be hanging on a bridge naked with my head chopped off, right?
Well,
But I mean, they show you Beto. I've mentioned before, the photographer for Lowrider back then
right.
went out there to cover an event and let everybody know I'm going to videotape everybody leaving from the show if you come out to Calle Revolucion,
Yeah.
right? He goes, I'll be out there filming, and that thing hit millions of people and
Oh,
viewers
yes.
in a couple of days. That's
Yes.
how big.
Yes.
I mean, but it's not so big that you're cruising, low riding in TJ in
Right.
Mexico. It's that the relationships from all around that area, the radius, maybe 100 miles, everybody stayed tuned to that and wanted to see that because that's home.
Yes, yes. Tijuana has a lot of beautiful cars out there. Well,
Yeah, they do.
as I've seen some of the podcasts from a lot of people,
Mhm.
including yours. I've been watching them, and there's always that question. I know we were at the museum a while back, and somebody asked Doctora Sandoval, they asked her, where did lowriding start? And she goes, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole because it's really hard to pinpoint kind of where it started. People say Arizona, New Mexico, San Diego, LA, San Jose, and but we tend to forget Tijuana because a lot of people from a lot of places back in the days were crossing the border to get that tuck and roll, to
Oh,
get
always, yeah.
to get the custom paint jobs.
Overnight.
Yes, so you would drive into a shop, hey, I know a shop, bring it down and they'll do it in a week or two.
Yeah.
And you go there, they're throwing candies, patterns, and
Yep.
chopping your tops, reversing your suicide door, reversing your hoods and all that. So it's hard to tell. And, I have a neighbor that just moved in probably about a year ago, older man, and you look at him in, you know, dresses, normal and stuff, older man. And one day he walked over there and he introduced himself, and he goes, in 1962, I had a new car like yours. And I look at him, I'm like, you bought it brand new? He goes, well, at that time, I kind of got it from my brother. He bought it brand new,
Hmm.
and he sold it to me really cheap, he says. And I joined a car club. And I go, really? I go, and how did you find out about it? He goes, I don't know. My brother turned me on to it, into lowriding. And I'm like, wow. I go, you weren't over here? And he goes, no. All my life was Tijuana.
Yeah.
That's all we knew, Tijuana, until recent, maybe 10 years. I got a job over here and I've been working here. Well, he's retired, but I came over. But, it's crazy how also in Tijuana, right there by the border, the low rating has been very strong. You know.
See, and that's what I mean about the history.
Yes.
I mean, to me, it's more important. To me, it doesn't matter where it started as long as it got started. Right?
Yes.
But see, you putting TJ on the map, Mexico on the map. Yeah, I've always say it's Bellflower, it's Van Nuys, it's SoCal, of course.
Right.
Espanola says they're the capital. Who came in first? They say the Zoot Suiters. It's the lead sleds turned customs, and
right.
lowriders became after that, right?
Right.
But I never knew about TJC,
Yeah.
so
and
I'm here to learn too.
I've done my history and asked, and a lot of the veteranos and stuff, and they say the same thing, and they say, well, it started after World War II, customizing.
Mhm.
I go, okay, I get you. I'm with you on that one. Then the Vietnam War, a lot of the young men that came out of there came out with the gift, with the talent, with something, paint, customizing, welding, doing something. I go, okay. But I asked the question, how did the people from Tijuana get it? They didn't go to those wars. They didn't go on Instagram or Facebook. There was none of that. They didn't have the Lowrider magazine wasn't out,
No.
back then. So
Long before the cell phone and videos come
Yeah.
out now. I know.
So
It started, it's like the
Yeah.
pyramids.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
And going back to what you're saying that you were looking over the fence at that car show, we missed you 2 years ago.
I wanted to go. I wanted to go pretty badass, but my schedule's like ridiculous. I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm doing in 5 minutes after we do this show.
I know Louis was out there,
Yep,
your
yep,
member and stuff, and we're in Leon, Guanajuato,
Yes.
and with Car Club Tira Aceite,
Yep.
and I was we had gone on vacation to Leon, Guanajuato.
Hmm.
We're cruising around, and I wanted to go see a tomb of a famous artist out there, Jose Alfredo Jimenez. And we got to Hidalgo. I turned around. I thought I saw a lowrider go by,
Hmm.
and I said, "There's a low. Was that a lowrider?" And I said, "I wonder if there's lowriders here." Always looking for cars. And I called my friend Chuy from Tijuana. Hey, Chuy, do you know if there's any lowriders over here? He goes, no, not where you're at, but in Guanajuato there is. Tira Aceite, let me get you a phone number. Called the guy up. We're 45 minutes away, scheduled to meet him in his car club and stuff. And we went down there, my wife and I, and met him. They brought out probably like a good 6, 7 cars, made a little carrozada for us, and welcomed us. And
There's a few cars across the border that can compete with anything this side of the border, and I've seen that too.
well, you got Low Style from
Yeah,
Tijuana,
yeah.
Dorados from Tijuana, Bajitos from Tijuana, of course, Duques from Tijuana.
Mhm.
I can go on and on. Car clubs and stuff. There's some cars out there that are bad, beautiful cars. Turntable cars that compete.
Right. You just mentioned a while ago about lowriding being a hobby sport, and you mentioned passion. I want to explain to everybody that lowriding is a hobby. It's something similar to when we used to build our model cars, if you did that. you customize them in a smaller scale. And when you get the big thing, you're doing the same thing again. You're painting, you're fixing it up according to what color you like and all. It almost becomes like a little hobby. No, we're not gluing things together, we're welding them together, but there is a hobby involved in lowriding. When I call it a sport, there is competition. Whether you're on that boulevard, oh man, I got to have a better paint job than that, or you go to the show and you get third place. It's a sport because we compete. There's always going to be passion. But when you put all of these together, along with tradition, it's a lowrider culture. So now I just explained it to everybody out there, and I hope that you get it this way. That's how I'm saying, and that's how it is.
Very true.
But people, oh, it's not a sport, it's a culture. You don't know it. It's just like, stop. Slow down, understand. That's
Right.
why this podcast is here. We just found out about, next time I mention about the history of lowriding, TJ,
Right.
let's go. Mexico, across the
Yes.
border. It's
Yes.
out there. It's alive for a long, long time.
Yeah.
Having talked about all of this, another low riding culture, not just San Diego, NorCal, SoCal, New Mexico, we talked about Chicano Park, Mr. Rabbit. I want to know about Chicano Park. I've been there a couple times. I've heard it's rowdy. You don't belong here. You're not from this neighborhood, but you hear little things and a few people will ruin it for everybody, but it's almost like a national pastime being in that park with all the murals, the cars, the culture, the whole scenery.
The whole
And you've
scenery.
lived that your whole life. And a lot of us have not, we know about it,
Right.
have never been there.
Right.
Explain it to everybody.
Well, I guess it's like I can ask you, how's Elysian Park? I've been there one time. It wasn't a full lowrider show or event or a cruise, but there was probably about 30, 40, 50 cars out there, and I was like, wow, I'm here. I can see the cars. Of course, Crenshaw,
Yeah.
Whittier Boulevard, and all that. Everybody has their sections, but yeah, Chicano Park, it's a park in itself. Um, so Chicano Park, I know a little bit of the history. I will tell you, back in 1970, they wanted to make a substation, Highway Patrol
Mm-hmm.
substation, but the city, the neighborhood wanted to make a park. They kept saying, "We need a park for the kids. Our neighborhood, we need a park, a car park." And one day, the bunch of bulldozers got there to clean up the area, and they said, "I think we're getting a park." They said, "No, we're going to build a highway patrol station here." And the community said, "Oh, no, 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 no. We want our park here." And so they went out there, stood their ground, and started planting the cactus and this and that, and stood in front of the bulldozer. No, we want a park here. So the struggle started, the passion started, the community got together, and it became a park. They made their own park in a sense. And I remember back in the days, when I was in high school in 79, 80, 81, 82, they would go to your school, and pass out flyers. Come to Chicano Park, come to Logan, help us, plant trees, help us clean up the park, help us make a crowd and make do stuff and stuff. But and then they started doing an annual event, with food, music, and it was pretty cool. You go out there, but of course, it was a neighborhood, and Chicano Park is kind of the hub of San Diego. So you have all the barrios from Chicano Park down south, and then the Chicano Park east, and all that. So all the neighborhood would go to Chicano Park, and they weren't having it. Some the gang there, or the barrio there, was saying you can come to our park for a little while, but then it's time to go home. But that was back in the early '80s
Mhm.
through the '90s. It's still a rough town. It's still but it's very respected. Everybody respects the murals, and now, of course, as you see on videos and you see everything else and stuff, everything's so beautiful because whatever happens to Chicano Park, it's on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube and stuff. So every year, the I believe it's the third Saturday in April, they do an annual car show, fiesta, and the anniversary of the park, and it's a beautiful place.
Would you say everybody's kind of welcome, but you have to come with some sort of respect? Because the neighborhoods and everything that surround that place, there's a lot of pride there. You
There
just
is,
don't come in. There's not really a welcome mat. You need to come in
with
and
respect.
get accepted and with respect first before you get any.
You hit the nail right on the head, Joe. It's like everything else. If I come here thinking that I'm badass you got to respect me and you got to move when I walk. It doesn't work like that anywhere,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, when we go to Chicano Park, we respect the grass, we respect where we park, make sure we don't leave our food or our trash anywhere. And there's always people out there saying, "Hey, do me a favor, don't park too close to a mural." And you're like, some people look at it like it's just a mural. What's the big deal if I'm leaning on it? No, there's respect there, and there's history, and you got to honor those murals because every mural there in Chicano Park
Tells a story.
tells a story of what goes on there. And Chicano Park, I mean, they can fill the park with three, maybe almost 400 cars there. They'll close the street down on the grass on the street, and it's a huge car show with beautiful music. You can smell the food and the Aztec dancers are there and all those beautiful lowriders. Sometimes you feel honored that you're there.
I when I first became editor at Lowrider, we sent one of our staff photographers to go down there and cover that event. He
Uh,
wanted to go, and when he got there, he got nothing but negativity. Like, what are you guys doing here? You guys haven't been here in 2, 3 years. You forgot about us. No recognition.
right.
Why are you here? He got hit with several people told him that.
Wow.
So that's how much pride and how they protect that area.
Right.
So I made sure that the next year, go back
You
there
gotta go
again,
there.
keep on going, don't
Right.
stop. But there was always a different scene from every year, different cars, different people. It's just,
Yeah, and it does get people come from Arizona, come from Tijuana, Tecate, Ensenada, Rosarito. They get there at early in the morning. First, you got to register. Make sure you can make it. Get on the list to be accepted to go into the park and stuff. When you sign up if you want to show your car from LA, they Oceanside, North County. A lot of guys from North County drive down to San Diego to show their cars and stuff. But yeah, you got to get in there, and we at one time they ask you don't lay your car down once you roll up on the grass. Wait a little while, let it cool down so your exhaust won't burn the grass and stuff. So
you were a lowrider role model not too long ago. And
right,
the one reason for it, and you are a role model throughout San Diego, that
thank you.
whole city. You're very, very well known, not just by Impalas. You're well known from everybody. You're good people. I spoke to somebody yesterday and they asked me, Joe, who's on your podcast? They're from San Diego.
Hmm.
I go, I'm going to have Rabbit on there. He's a good dude, man. He's
Thank
good,
you.
man. He's well liked out there. Everybody respects him. He will be good. I go, I got to get somebody from San Diego. It's another country, right? In low riding, it has to be. It has its own culture. But besides that, you got in there because it hit me that you were a master mechanic, still are, but you worked on emergency vehicles like fire trucks, emergency rescue vehicles, and all that. And, you would walk up, tools in hand, and what would the fire department, what would everybody just say? What, this dude's a lowrider. What is he doing here? What do they know? They screw up cars. They make them go up and down.
Up
They,
and
ra-
down,
they
yes.
run shitty. They smoke and all this. He's gonna work on my fire truck, and then here you are, and you've done that mostly all your whole life.
So, like I was saying, I worked at a dealership. So I worked at this dealership for 24 years, right?
Yeah.
And one time, a good friend of mine's mechanic right there with me told me, "Hey, the city's hiring. Let's go get jobs over there." And I go, "Well, let's go try it. You can't get into the city. Let's try it." So we applied, and he got hired right away. And I'm like, I didn't get hired, but he got hired with trash trucks. And I'm like, well, trash trucks. But yeah, it's a city job. You get a paycheck every 2 weeks, guaranteed. You don't have to, be on commission. Uh, a few years passed, and then I got a phone call. I went to another interview. Another interview. I actually did 5 interviews. The last one, I was like, I don't want to interview. I already knew the guys. I would walk in and talk to all three interviewers. There was three guys on the panel. Hey, how are you? How's your brother doing? How's your son doing? That's how good I knew these guys. And finally, I got in. They offered me, okay, we have two positions with trash trucks or with the fire department. And I said, fire department. And I like, what do you mean fire department? Yeah, working on fire engines. And I'm like, well, he goes, do you know anything about that? I go, I've been a mechanic all my life. And of course, like you said, we did that role model. And I explained there how I said, I didn't know how to speak English when I first came here, but I learned. And I didn't know how to swim, ride a bike, but we learned,
Hmm.
and when you have it in your hands and you can do mechanics, you figure it out. So I got hired. I took the job with the fire department, and of course, you go in there with tattoos and all that. And of course, nowadays,
Yeah,
a
now
lot
it's
of
accepted.
mechanics, have, I mean, a lot of mechanics, a lot of fire engines now have,
Well, everybody, the
yeah,
whole fire department sleeves.
yeah, and but at that time, 17 years ago, I walked in there and it goes, "You're the new mechanic?" Yeah, there was a couple of vatos that were, raza,
Yeah,
Mexicanos, Chicanos and stuff. Hey, what's up, homie? How are you? I was like, wow, they know homie the word,
yeah,
because you see them as firemen, like,
right.
and you're gonna work on the rig, yeah. So little by little, I started knowing how to work on them. I learned the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts. And then during that, while you're there, you got to do a week, 2 weeks on, 24 hours. But even though you don't do the 24 hours, you're still on their telephone. Any disaster, anything happens, they'll call you. You know what? We have 10 rigs that are broken down. We need you to come in, but I'm at a birthday party. It doesn't matter. You got to be responsible and show up. So it was a great honor for me to work on fire engines. And sometimes I would get to a shop, to a station, wherever it was, because I had my own truck with all the tools, my welding machine, everything I needed, compressor, tires, brakes. I had everything. So I would get to one of the stations and, what's wrong with your rig? Well, it doesn't want to turn on, or it's making this noise. Whatever was going on, we'd fix it. And the first thing when we get to the station, our job is to call dispatch, say, dispatch, I'm here at station six. I'm going to take them out of service. They said, okay, then they can have, station 30 or station 32 down the street cover for them while I'm working on them. But we have 4 hours to finish that job. And if we don't, then we got to take them out of service and they got to go get another rig to get back into
Puts
service.
fit on. Yeah.
So, but sometimes there was an easy fix, and so I would park right in front of the station, roll up the door and pull the engine out or work on it right there. And sometimes, we would finish it up, and I would finish it up, and then, I would right as soon as I would finish, I would move my truck out of the way, move on my tools, not even put them away yet, just throw them on the side. Call dispatch. Engine six is back in service for anything. And sometimes, I kid you not, Joe, I would hang up the phone and not even a minute would go by, and you hear that bell ring, the light starts flashing, engine six, cardiac arrest, on this.
You have
And
to save a life within seconds.
I was like, wow. I was like, oh, shoot, and these guys would come out running, thank you, homie, thank you, jump in there, and they were gone. And I would feel very honored, like, wow, maybe I'm part of them, I'm part of that team and stuff, and that was very cool,
Well, with
very
all the
cool.
doctors, lawyers, military, I felt that story because that's serious right there. And
Yes,
you're going to save a life within seconds.
yes,
I got some lowrider that pulls up and he's going to work on this engine. Now
yes.
get the hell out of
Oh
here,
man,
right?
yeah.
There's just no way.
That was something that it was so cool. And then one of my friends, I would tell him, Fermin, come over to the fire department. You're crazy. I don't know nothing about. What if I get a call and I don't know how to fix it? Doesn't matter. Call me.
Mhm.
I'll guide you through it. Nah, nah, nah. Come on, Fermin, do it. So he ended up going, and now I'm no longer there. I retired. Well, unfortunately, I had a stroke 5 years ago, and I was paralyzed. I went through the whole thing with my stroke and all that. But the cool thing that after my stroke, maybe a week or two after I was home, I would be sitting in my couch and stuff, and I hear a truck come up. Like, is that Amazon or who is that? one fire truck or fire engine, two fire engines, three fire engines. I'm like, what's going on here? And they would come in with donuts, Gatorade, and
Really?
yeah, and they would say, "Hey, what's up, homie? How are you? How you feeling? One of our headlights is out. Can you fix it?" I'm like, "Homie, I can't even get out my chair. What do
Yeah.
you mean fix it?" I go, "But you know
Oh,
what?
that's great, though.
I'll call my wife. She can fix it for you." Joking
Camaraderie.
around and stuff. But yeah, they showed me so much love, so much respect. It was just great working with them. And once in a while, I go to a station, but because of my car, they knew my car. They recognized my car, and sometimes they'll see me on the street. Hey, what's up, Rabbit? How are you? How you doing? How's everything? Good, good, good. How's the crystal ship? Here we are cruising with it.
Your recovery from your stroke, lots of therapy.
Yes.
It helps that you're still a master mechanic. What was part of your therapy? Working on cars?
Part of my therapy was I was on my own because when it happened March 31st of 2020. So COVID was like getting there. It's getting
Right.
stronger and stronger. So there was no therapy, nothing. So I had to learn how to talk again. I still can't write. I used to love to write. Um, my hands not 100%. My fingers aren't. My nerves on my fingers aren't 100%. That's why, of course, I use a cane because sometimes I stumble and it's hard for me to walk. But little by little, I've started to walk and started to move my hand. My face had fallen down one side, and I was always, you know, it was just crazy. But I had a lot of love, a lot of help from my family. My brother would come over and help me out. My son Elias would come over and say, "Dad, we got to do stretch. We got to stretch your hand, your fingers, and your leg." My son Marco lives in Portland and stuff, and he came down to San Diego and stayed here in San Diego like for 2 months, and he would be there every day. Well, he stayed at the house, and he would help me out. Say, "Come on, Dad, you gotta learn to write with your left hand." And of course, my beautiful daughter Bianca, she was there every single day, and she did a lot of research. "Dad, I'm gonna buy you a puzzle. You gotta move your hands. So she bought me this 1,000-piece puzzle, and I did it. I would stay up late at night, and because you get a lot of anxiety because you can't move, you want to reach for something, you can't do none of that. And of course, my wife, she was my doctor, she was my counselor, my nurse, my therapist, my everything. She was there all the time. She's still there you know, egging me on. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. And now she gets mad at me because sometimes I'm up on the roof. She goes, "What are you doing up there? Get off that ladder. You're gonna fall." No, I got this. I got this. Because as a man, we want to prove to our friends, our family, I'm still that man that you knew. I get embarrassed a lot. Like sometimes I'm somewhere like I try to get up to get
Somebody
something,
tries to help
and they
you.
jump, and I tell them, "No, no, 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 no. Let me do it." "No, I got it for you, homie." "No, no, no. Give me that opportunity," because I get embarrassed. But
But it's part of the therapy. Do you feel that
yes,
you get better as you go on day by
yes.
day?
Day by day, I've gone much better. And you were saying about master mechanic. Um, I'm still a mechanic. I
Hmm.
still have that knowledge up here. I have a lot of knowledge of how to do stuff because I've worked on cars since I was probably like 8 years old. I learned how to drive when I was 8 or 9 years old. But a lot of my friends tell me, "Hey, Rabbit, I got to change my alternator. Can you do it for me?" I go, "Yes." So I take my tools. We go to the store. They buy the alternator. Oh, they already have it. And I put my tools on the table and I say, "You're gonna do it." "I don't know how to work on them." "Yes, you do. I'm going to teach you my knowledge." And I teach a lot of people how to work on cars. And I started doing airbags a few years back. Helping my friend Fermin do airbags and stuff like that. And we did that for about 2 years. Did a lot of airbags on a lot of cars. I know how to do hydraulics 100% from wiring, the cutouts, the setups, how to do it all and stuff. And I actually just finished my wife's car Friday doing hydraulics on it. Did all the cutouts, did the front cylinders, the coils, dropped the spindles, dropped everything, put everything together, wired it all up. Told my wife, "All right, sit in, hit the switch." So it was cool. And now, so as we know, our life goes this way, our life goes that way, our life goes all over the place as we're here on earth. And after my stroke, I was home every day, and my daughter started asking me, "Hey, Dad, so tell me, who was your first girlfriend, and how did you get into low riding, and this and that?" So she goes, "Dad, why don't you write a book?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"Write a book? Are you Who's gonna read my book? Who's interested in my story?" She goes, "Dad, you have some pretty cool stories, you know."
Yep.
And I'm like, "Nah, you're crazy." So one day, my laptop was always there. I got into my laptop and I said, let me write something down. So I started writing and writing and writing and writing. And before you knew it, I had like 6, 7, 8, 9 chapters, 10 chapters, and then I would remember something, go back
Go
and
back into it.
keep writing. And then she goes, "What do you name your book?" I don't know, it's, something I don't know yet. So I came up with the name Cruising with Mr. Rabbit.
Mhm.
That's the title of my book. It's not published yet. We're still doing the editing on it. My daughter, she's very educated. She has a lot of degrees and stuff. She loves school like we love law writing and stuff. And so with all that, uh, one day. Um, so, like I said, we go through a lot of roads and a lot of adventures in life. A friend of my wife he called her up, Beto Vasquez, Dr. Beto Vasquez, said, "Hey, Juita, I have a question. You think Rabbit can do lowriders in the science of hydraulics?" And she goes, "Well, I'll ask him." So my wife asked me, "Can you do something like that?" I goes, and I laugh. I go, "There's no science. You hit the switch, car goes up. Hit the switch, car goes down. What science is that?" So I called him up, and he goes, "Homie, there's science. The fluid that goes through it, the voltage, the this, the that." He goes, "I don't know much about it, but can you do a science fair and have a booth and just explain?" I'm like, "Well, I guess I can." So I went. I took some literature, paperwork, a couple of magazines, set up, and I was watching all the other science, booths that were there. They had all kinds of cool stuff, and I said, I gotta step up my game. So now I get called from elementaries, high schools.
Speaking engagements
Yes,
on stereotype, lowrider stereotypes, right? To speak about that.
yes,
So when you have the stroke, all it did was just slow you down. But
yes.
you took
So
on more jobs,
now
speaking engagements,
I do so much lectures. Um,
hydraulics.
as a matter of fact, this Friday, my daughter called me up like a month ago. She goes, "Dad, my a teacher wants you to do another lecture in your garage, because my garage is set up something like this. I have my car, checkered floor, and I have a lot of vintage stuff. I have all the steering wheels, the black one, the white one, the chase steering wheel, the organ pipes, the rabbit ears, a lot of vintage lowrider stuff, the original lowrider magazine from 77, 78, the first one.
Yeah.
I have so much stuff, so much cool stuff, videos and everything." So she goes, "They want to do it in your garage, you know." So University of San Diego is going to be in my house. All the PhD students are going to be there, and I
Good.
feel very honored. And they want me to talk about the history of lowriding, where, when, and how, and of course, lowriders and the science of hydraulics. But now I'm fully prepared. I have a Pesco pump, that comes from an aircraft, the landing gear or the cargo doors, to the Fenderstone pumps that were after that, to what's brand new aluminum blocks and all that. I have a lot of stuff that I have also to show switches, hopping switches, solenoids, and all that, how everything works. So now I give the science of hydraulics, which is pretty cool.
You're still on a mission, man.
Still on a mission,
It only slowed you down, but then tell us about the ULC, United Lowrider Coalition.
the United Lowrider
You're also
Coalition.
involved in that.
I'm also involved with that. In So the United Lowrider Coalition started because a young lady, Marisa Rosales, she set up a pop-up cruise
Hmm.
on National City Boulevard, not Highland, because as you know, Highland, Whittier, King and Story, all those, had the no. A lot of boulevards here in California had the no cruising ordinance going on. So She did during COVID did a pop-up cruise, and it was a success. She did, two or three more, but then the National City got wind of it, and the cops were out there in full force on the third or fourth one, and she put a complaint because a lot of the police were on motorcycles on the sidewalks trying to run us out and say what's going on. You guys can't be here, blah blah blah. So they called her in. Sure, come on in. We want to hear your complaint. So when she got there, they turned it around on her. What you're doing is wrong. It's COVID, and blah blah blah. So a young man, Marcus Bush, heard about what's going on. He works with National City. He called my wife, and I remember it was early in the morning. He called her up and said, "Hey, Jovita, this girl, Marisa Rosales, which I know very well, I've known her for many years, is having a problem with National City, the police department, because of the cruising. Can you help her out?" So they said, okay. So she called Marisa, and we set up a meeting at a park right there in National City, Campbell Park, where Bird does his, end of summer.
Yeah.
So we met and said, well, we got to figure things out. It's been 30 something years. We got to take those signs off Highland. We got to do something. So we sat down through some yeses and nos, and should we burn their police cars? Should we break their windows, right on the walls?
Yeah.
Our old school mentality. And we're like, no, 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 we got to do it the right way. We got to sit there with them and break bread and talk to them and tell them, hey, what if you give us an opportunity and this and that? And of course, they said no, and said no, and said no. And we kept saying, come on, give us a chance. We want to talk to you. Come back next week. But we were there doing, so we started the United Lowrider Coalition, and we got on a mission.
Who's involved in the coalition? Are different car clubs?
So we invited everybody to come, solo riders, car clubs. You didn't have to be in low riding. We just wanted to have a strong base, a strong family. So there is a couple of car clubs. Duke's Car Club is involved. Crowd Car Club is involved. Let me see who else. Not Bottoms Up Car Club. Game Over Car Club is involved. Of course, Impala's Car Club. And I'm probably forgetting one or two car clubs that's involved, and a lot of solo riders. But there's a lot of the people that are involved are also very educated in a sense. They know the language, and that's what has helped us out so much. So once we got all this going on, talking to people, we started talking with the mayor. They said, well, okay, we'll sit down and talk. We want to hear your story. We want to know what's going on. But of course, it was still like, no, I don't think we can do nothing like that. I don't think we're going to bring cruising down. That ordinance has been up for 30-something years. The signs are right there, no cruising. We're not going to remove them. So my wife had an idea. Said, what if we call David Alvarez, Assembly Member David Alvarez, from San Diego, maybe he can help us. So they set up a meeting with them. We went down there, and he said, I would love to take that challenge. I would love to do something. And David Alvarez is also in Sacramento, So he started working with them, working with Sacramento. And when he introduced the bill, we went up to Sacramento. And we were there, we introduced it, and the bill was accepted. I believe it had to go through 4 phases, this. Finally, the governor will sign if it passes all through the stages. So we were very honored because we were able to go into the floor where the bill was going to be introduced and all that after everything was done. And he showed us, look, here's where the buttons that we push, here's where we talk, and here's what we do, and here's how it is, all that. That was really cool. We were up in Sacramento, so we got the ball rolling. And of course, finally, National City said, you know what, I think it's time to remove those signs. And the signs came down. We had a big old party. All the car clubs came down. A lot of news stations, and it was funny because even news stations from Tijuana were coming to San Diego to talk to us, ask us questions. So what's going on? We see you guys on the news about this cruising.
Yeah.
What's the cruising all about? What is that? Because a lot of people don't understand. What's the big deal? Go up and down the boulevard, have a good time.
Well, if you guys blow it for everybody.
Yes, and you know what helped us out? Of course, I speak very good. Not 100% like good Spanish.
Politician.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I know the language. I can speak Spanish. So I would tell them, picture this. Back in the rancho when you were young, if you're still from the rancho,
Hmm.
from deep in Mexico, you guys, a lot of the ranchos, a lot of the little towns in Mexico have a plaza, you know. So on Sundays, all the families would always go to the plazas and sit around to eat. The kids would run around. And the cool thing about a lot of these plazas in Mexico, that the guys go to the left or to the right, and the girls will see the guys go to the right, the girls go to the left. So they always see each other as
Right.
they pass.
Right.
I go, so picture this. You go on your horse or you go out there and you want to just cruise, but we're cruising. You were walking at that time. That's what we're all about. Oh, okay, I get it. So it's just on a Sunday, you go cruise with your music, eat at a restaurant. Exactly. So people started, what's so illegal about that? Well, it's not that it's illegal that we're doing something wrong. It's that we've messed it up for ourselves. We've gotten into fights,
Exactly.
drinking and driving, hopping our cars, doing stuff that we wouldn't. But you got to remember, Joe, and I know you've lived it. You know how many times when you go to the boulevard to have a good time, but a knucklehead will look at you wrong or say something, or whatever, and it just happens, you know. But we've been honored that I've had the privilege to cruise King of Story back in the days with my cousin. I've had the honor to cruise, of course, Whittier Boulevard, the honor to cruise, National City, Highland, the honor the privilege to cruise in Tijuana, the Revolucion, Las Playas, and of course when we went to over there in León, Guanajuato, or
Hmm.
a little cruise. And then, of course, my friend Garcia, that you know from Hungary,
Right.
he invited us. We went to Europe a few years back, and it so happened that where we were at in Paris, it was only a 2-hour flight to go to Hungary. We ended up going to Hungary, and that weekend we were there, they were having a car show and stuff. No lowriders. My friend's the only one with the lowrider there, and but we drove in with this Cadillac and stuff. It was so cool, and we met a lot of beautiful people from Hungary, and we were very honored the way they treated us. The news got there and stuff. There's a lowrider family from California. You guys want to meet them? Blah blah. The news set up, and we were like blown away. Like, wow, all these cameras and stuff. So
How many total years now have you been into low riding?
50 years,
You have a
and
book going.
like
You have a book going.
yes.
You're in a car club, national president.
National president.
Congratulations on
Thank you,
that.
thank you.
That's a lot of responsibilities.
It is.
Besides being a master mechanic,
It is.
what about the community? Kids. We mentioned lowrider bikes earlier.
So the United Lowrider was our main focus. Was of course taking down the signs, removing the law from the no cruising.
Right.
So that's done.
AB 436.
AB 436. So now that we're done with that.
Uh-huh.
So now what are you going to do? United Lowrider Coalition. So my wife had an idea. You know what? Why don't we focus on the young kids? Why don't we work with the young kids? Why don't we teach them? So we started going to schools, giving, talking about how us as lowriders took on the challenge on breaking the barrier on vote, 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 and stuff. And it was working good. It was working good, but we wanted more. So now we're doing. We had a pilot. We started doing working on lowrider bikes. We had 6 kids. Gave them a lowrider frame with everything was bare. They had to paint it. They had to work on it. Something like what Eric Errazo does in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I know you know Eric,
Yep.
the lowrider teacher. Something what he does. But of course, he has a shop. He has everything beautiful. We were just there a couple of weeks ago, like a month ago. But so we started doing that with them, and it was a great program. The kids got to go every Saturday. We mentored them, talked to them. We had guest speakers. Then after that, after they were done, we had a graduation, cap and gown. Their family was there. They introduced their bikes to their family, and they got to take their bikes home.
Those
So
kids, mention Eric, those kids, I mean, they want to change their lives, give them a responsibility, show them something that's cool, build it yourself, and it sets you down that path.
yes,
We all think about our teachers and certain school grade teachers that are role models or mentors to us, but programs like that for the kids and the bikes, no matter if they go into low riding or not, it's very important for our youth because we always talk about, oh, this generation's different.
Right.
There's no respect. It's no, just, you just got to guide them. You got to point in what
We got to
direction to
work with
go
them.
and let them go. They may go right or left, but some will go straight because of that. And that's always
And the cool part of
great
all
thing.
this, it wasn't just guys. It
Yeah.
wasn't just young men.
Yeah.
It was some girls were
Oh,
very
the girls
interested
are involved big time now
and
when we're riding
stuff.
too.
So that was cool. We had a little girl that was there, not a little girl, but a young lady. She was very shy. They wanted her mom or dad there with her all the time. So we told her, no, your dad can't be here. He has to go. She didn't know how to act. She felt afraid. She didn't know us. But little by little, she started to get into it, build her bike, and before you know it, my one thing my wife did during the graduation, she had each student get up and give a testimony of why, when, how, and what was the whole process and stuff. And she was out there talking, and everybody clapped. She spoke very well. Her dad was very proud of her. Her family was very proud of her. So yeah, it was great. And we're getting ready to launch our program again pretty soon. So we'll probably be working with about 6 to 8 kids. But now we're not just doing bikes. We want the kids to do, if they have skateboards, as you know, some of the skateboards now
Oh yeah.
they
That's
have,
big.
are being custom. The RC cars are hitting very hard. If they want to customize the RC car, even whatever they have, whatever they want to bring it, and we'll figure out how we're going to customize it. So that's something unique that we're involved with now.
So from your early beginnings until this very moment, sitting in that chair in that fully customized shirt, you've had a great life. You've been blessed.
I have.
When you look at the whole journey to where you're at today, who would you give shout outs to right now?
Well, first of all, I want to thank God
Mhm.
because He gave me an opportunity to stick around a little longer. I think He saw that I hadn't finished my journey yet because of my passion that I have with lowriding, and of course, so it's something like wow. And now that I'm doing that, the history of lowriding and lowriders and the science of hydraulics, that just blows me away because it's just something unique, and I want to thank my daughter for getting me started with that. Of course, my beautiful daughter Bianca, and I have a grandson now, and I just gave him a stroller, a 1950 stroller, so it's all customized and all that. So he started already at 6 months. A shout out to, of course, her husband, being very supportive. My 2 kids, Elias and Marco, my beautiful wife, Jovita, and my car club, Impala's Car Club. We're a big family, big family. I wish,
That's a monster responsibility,
I wish
but it is a family,
yes,
a huge one.
it's a huge family, and I'll tell you, Joe, if one day you start at the border in San Isidro, and you want to go all the way to Canada on the 5,
Yeah.
and we'll say you break down, you give me a call, hey Rabbit,
Oh, I've known that about you. Yeah. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
here at the Grapevine. Who's around here?
Yep.
I can get a chapter within probably less than an hour to go help you out. We're blessed about that we have so much
You have your own AAA service within the
yes,
club.
with them,
That's what car clubs and chapters are supposed to be about.
yes, and I know people say another chapter and another chapter, but you know what? We are a big, beautiful family. And like everything else, we have our issues. Sometimes I get a call at 2 in the morning. Hey, Rabbit, we're having a problem with this chapter, blah blah, blah. And I say, you know what? Um, I, one thing I've learned with all this that I don't jump right away and say, you know what? F this. We're gonna do it like this. I tell them, you know what? Give me a minute. Let me think about it. Let me figure something out. Let me see how we're gonna do this. And I usually call them back within, in the morning when I sleep on it, wake up, get ready and all that, and then I'll call them up, say, look, why don't we handle it like this? Why don't we talk to them like this? Why don't we do this? Blah blah blah. And they're like, wow, I would have just said, we're done here. I said, no. I think we need to figure out why and what's going on, how, and everything has gotten back on track, and
That's good.
and it's great. And
Through
there's probably
experience.
about over 800 members.
You're talking about experience right there.
You know,
The kids programs, How do we get in contact if somebody say wants to support a program or like that or wants to get involved?
Okay, if you want to get involved, that's something that we would have to talk to my wife
Mm-hmm.
because she's a president.
Right.
Jovita Arellano. She's a president of the United Lowrider Coalition, and it's funny because you think lowriders, guys, right? But in the chair, it's my wife Jovita, president. Vice president is Marisa.
Mm-hmm.
Treasurer is Deanna, and then and there's another young lady there. I forgot her name, but there's a lot of women involved.
You just go to UC. That's all you have to do. Is there's a website,
Yeah, there's a website. I believe it's
ULC?
United Lowrider Coalition,
Right.
or they can look me up under rabbit underscore national underscore underscore impalas, and they can contact us there. We get a lot of donations from a lot of people. Says we want to help you donate a bike, donate this, so donate their time, which we feel very blessed that people want to help out, and that's what has changed so much, because we're working with the youth, you know. So it's been a beautiful journey.
What goes around comes around.
Yes, yes,
Beautiful
100%.
story, man.
And of course, as you know, we have everybody has a unique story. We can sit here, bring a grill in here and start cooking a carne asada and keep talking
Or
for
shots of tequila,
yeah,
like you guys are known for.
you
Right?
know, and start drinking and start laughing and of course put some good music. Always the '70s rock music and a
Well,
couple
the
of
Crystal
oldies.
Ship, your 62 rag. Where
Yes.
did you get that name from?
So of course, I seen one of your podcasts. There, a lot of your cards from Lifestyle, they have songs from bands and stuff. So I was honored that when I worked for the Buick leadership, I worked with Admiral Morrison, Jim Morrison's dad from the Doors. I was his mechanic for about 8 or 9 years in National City. He lived in Coronado, so he would drive over the bridge, drive up to the leadership, and always look for me. Where's Marcos? He always wanted one mechanic to just work on his car.
Yeah.
So I was a mechanic. I was his mechanic. And when I first met him, I said, "How you doing, Mr. Morrison?" He looked at me, and goes, "From this point on, it's Admiral Morrison. Admiral Morrison it is." And so of course, the Doors
Jim
have
Morrison
have
and the
Jim
Doors,
Morrison
his
and the
son,
Doors and all that. So when I had my
Crystal
car,
Ship.
when I got my car 20 something years ago, everyone wants to name their car this and that, Red Rose, Suavecito 62, and this and that. And I wasn't comfortable with the name. And one day, I love Light My Fire, Break On Through, and all that. But I was like, oh, Light My Fire. Yeah, it's red. We can do that. But I don't know. And one day I was going through music and stuff, and that song came out, The Crystal Ship. And I'm like, there it is right there, The Crystal Ship. And of course, the rest is history. And sometimes I have to explain myself, The Crystal Ship, because crystal, people think, is it like, drugs or something? So I go, no, but it's a tribute to the Doors
Yeah.
and stuff. So that's the name of my car, The Crystal Ship.
But in a 62 rag, you are sailing.
Oh, yes.
So it's a perfect
Yes.
name.
Yes.
Well, we come to a close of the show, everybody. A great story we heard from the beginning all the way to the end. Future of lowriding, the culture, Chicano Park, San Diego, the map, the worldwide San Diego lowriding culture we discussed.
100%.
And you were a very good representative for all of it.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you being here.
And
We all appreciate you being
thank you
here.
for inviting me. When you text me last week, I was actually making the cutouts for my wife's car and putting the cylinders, and then my phone vibrated. I was like, Joe Ray. I'm like, oh shoot, what did I do wrong? And then of course we were playing phone tags back and forth, and then finally we spoke, and you told me. I was like, wow, I felt very honored, and of course, thank you, and congratulations on Wire Down. It's something great that a lot of people want to share the stories, but we never hear about it. And as you know, a lot of us are leaving, a little early from Earth, and some of our stories will never be heard again.
And we heard,
So
I learned something today just having an interview with you, just kicking back here.
yes,
I think we all did when we talk about the beginnings of low riding, where it happened. On you put TJ on the map.
Well,
I'll never forget that. Now, when I get
yeah.
in those arguments or stories, you know,
And you know what's funny because I keep seeing that steering wheel, and I asked you
yeah,
a question
yeah,
about it. And one time I started the research of where did these steering wheels come from, and I looked and looked and looked, and I found a story that they came from the little boats. You know, the little white one
yeah.
came from the boats, and I was like, wow. And what somebody walked into a boatyard, they had a friend there. Hey, can I have that steering wheel? Ah, you can have it. Put it on his car, and the rest is history, And yeah, there's a lot of history, and I get asked a lot now that I'm doing that. The yeah, there it is right there. And of course, my question to you was, how come that one has the little holes and stuff, and
This
some
is
of them
where I
are
used to
are
ride like
are,
this
are cut out
on a
differently?
cool day.
Yeah.
Yeah, some had slots. These things are expensive.
Yes.
You see them more today on lowrider bikes now,
Yes.
and that's where you would get a brand new one. They're a couple $100.
Oh yeah, but Pep Boys had them what 1999.
I
You
think
know.
in my Dress to Kill Riviera, when I first got it, that was the thing. Then I didn't go to the bunny ears. I thought about side pipes, but I had that. I mean, that identified everything.
As
Being
a
a lowrider.
lowrider.
It
Yes.
wasn't just the wheels or finally lifting it and getting it on the floor. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, and I still have my old chain steering wheel. I kept it forever. I remodified it inside Dress to Kill. It's still a part of it is in there, but this is who we are.
Yes.
The heart and soul of lowriding. When you go back, it just sometimes it's not just the hydraulics and 520s,
Right.
Myers and
Yeah.
Kragers. There's bunny ears, there's chain
Oh,
steering wheels, there's
the
leg pipes, there's organ pipes in the
the
back.
the curb
You don't see any
curb
of it
scrapers
today,
and all that.
but you know what?
But the
I hate
history
to
is
say
there.
this that this can never go out of style because it's part of our history.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so are you.
Well, thank you.
And you're a great guest to have on here. I got to get you back here again because there is a whole lot more to know,
Oh yes.
especially
And one
bring
thing,
a guest with you. You'll get a custom painter or
okay.
somebody that has a lot to do
And I will tell
with
you
the
one
culture of
thing
San Diego
that
to visit.
the low rating, as you know, has changed so much from back in the days to where it is now. What I feel very proud that the women are out there hitting switches, working on their cars, and of course, it's a family thing now.
Oh yeah.
It's a beautiful family thing, and that's one thing when I give my lectures. I don't have all the answers. Sometimes I get stumped. Sometimes they ask me a question, and I'm like, okay, how can I answer? And I tell them, I'll stick around. I'll answer your question when I'm done because I have a lot of things written down.
Right.
But I like it that I go to these elementaries, and I think elementaries, little kids don't want to hear this, but they do. They pay attention, and it's all about family now. I love it.
Oh yeah.
You know, very cool.
There you go, everybody. Another episode of the Wired Down Podcast Show. Mr. Rabbit, thank you for being here.
Thank you. It was an honor.
All right. Catch everybody on the next episode. See if we could cop this guest.
Thank you.